Hi everyone. So today what we are going to discuss is middleware. So first of all, we need to understand what a middleware is, right? So as you can see in the screen, I've written a definition of middleware. So basically, the main purpose of middleware is to add functionality to any framework. And in our case, we are using a Express framework. So we'll be using a middleware to add a couple of functionalities to our existing framework. Now what we're going to do is we'll create a basic application in which we'll be using middleware to add a functionality. So this is my application, my app.js. So first of all, what I've done is I've created a reference for my Express over here, and then I've made an instance of that Express. And after that, over here, I'm telling which port my application is going to use for running, right? And another prerequisite for this is, I mean, if you go and have a look at your package.jsm, I've installed a couple of things for now. For now, you can just focus on Express, what I've installed, and there's something called Node1. Node1 is basically just to run your live server. It keeps on updating whenever you make any change. It automatically updates, and it sort of reflects on whatever changes you made in your server, right? Now going back to our app.js. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an endpoint over here. And as you know that the basic steps for endpoint are, I'll say app dot, because that is the instance of my Express app. And now I'm going to say app dot get. So for instance, I just want for my basic, that is my /, that is my home, or you can say root. Now what I want is that whenever there's I have a request for my home page, let's say for instance, I want to send a message that welcome to, because we're doing middleware, so I'll say middleware, right? So what I've done over here, I've basically just written a basic message. Now, again, I'm saving it, and you can see over here that my node.mon, it's sort of updating everything on its own. So now what I'm going to do, I'll go to my browser, and so I have a browser over here, and so let's say localhost, and when I click enter, I should be getting the message welcome to middleware, because what I've done over here, my server is sending a message that is welcome to middleware, because I am in the main page, that is your home page, right? So this is nothing but again a basic application. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use a middleware. We are going to create a middleware to add functionality to this existing application. Okay, so now what I've done, basically, I'm just using a basic middleware. So whenever you're creating a middleware, what happens that whenever a request arrives, right, in your server, what happens, first of all, it goes through your middleware. So for instance, whenever there's a request which comes, first of all, your request goes through this. So this is your first step. This is where your request comes. And because I've created two middleware, so how do you identify a middleware? You can say that when you have app.use, app.use, so that is again a way to identify that these are middleware functions. So first of all, these two things are performed, and then what happens? After this, your next flow will continue. So your next, whatever you have after this, that is going to be performed, right? So again, I'll just scroll down. Now what I have done, I'll just quickly repeat what happens. Whenever a request arrives to your server, what happens is it goes to your middleware functions first of all. So these are your middleware functions. First it goes over here, and after that it comes to your get method. So you can say that this is going to be your flow. And if you want to divide, you can say that 1A and then 1B, and then it comes to 2. So this is the flow of your function, how it is going to be running, right? Now, what important thing to understand is what happens when we run this code, right? So if you can have a look now, I'll just sort of control S. Now it sort of automatically runs. So now when I go to my local server, I mean, I'm going to run it on my browser. Now when I run this, when it's, for instance, I reload it. Now you can see something, what is happening. My middleware 1 is getting printed. But what is happening over here, you can see that my server is still loading. I'll just mark it and show you. 1 second. Yeah. So what is happening over here? You can see this, my server, like the page is not getting load, right? So what is happening over here? My request is not going past your middleware. You can see I just have printed middleware over here, right? So what I can conclude that my program is stopping at this point, right? Now the reason for this is that my server over here, it's going to wait, right? Now what I have to do is, in order to transfer or go to the next part of the program, I have to tell my middleware that now this task is performed, go to the next function. So how do we do that? So for that we use something called next function. So what next does, it basically starts the execution of your next part. So you can see as soon as I did next, middleware 2 got printed. So now if I want my endpoint to be executed, now for this what I'll do, I'll again put next over here, right? Again, because I'm not printing anything over here, so I'll just print something so that you can, console, figure out what exactly I'm trying to explain, console, and white one. So for instance, if I remove this, right, and I'll go and reload my page. So right now it's just hanging, right? Because yeah, you can see now middleware 1 has been printed and middleware 2 has been printed. But now my next get function is not getting printed. So what I'll do over here, I'll say, I'll add another function, which I did previously. Now you can see as soon as I added a function called next, what happens? My next endpoint is also executed. So basically what is happening? Using your next function, we are sort of executing our endpoints or another function. Again, it is very important whenever you are basically using middleware, you need to keep this in mind, right? So this is a basic idea about middleware. Another important thing which you need to keep in mind is that order of your middleware function is really important. So for instance, if you maybe copy paste, just switch middleware 2 and middleware 1. So first of all, middleware 2 will be executed and then middleware 1. So it depends on what sort of operations you're going to perform, right? So this was a basic overview of what middleware is. After this, what we are going to do is we're going to discuss about middleware, which is used in our Express, or we use that to add functionalities in our Express. And that middleware is called body parser, which we are going to discuss after this. And for now, this is just a basic idea of middleware. Thank you.